and this is Samantha here from RecipeThis.com and the voice behind the popular Kitchen Gadgets podcast, Magic with Gadgets. Today I'm here to share with you one of my favourite air fry meats, and that is air fry brisket. Well, before we dive into this recipe, I just wanted to suggest that you head over to RecipeThis.com. We've got more than 1,200 kitchen gadget recipes, including recipes for the air fryer, instant pot, slow cooker, soup maker, bread maker, microwave, Ninja Foodie, and many others. We also have a free weekly newsletter, which you can find on the homepage of RecipeThis.com, or you can find it on RecipeThis.com/newsletter. And there you can get our best kitchen gadget recipes sent to your inbox every Friday morning. Today I'm here to share with you one of my favourite air fry meats, and that is air fry brisket. If you've not done air fry brisket before, then it's an absolute must and fantastic for a quick roast in the air fryer. Here in England, how it differs to in the US is that brisket is generally bought rolled, like a rolled joint. So it doesn't actually look flat like brisket does in America. But if you rolled up your brisket in the US, it would match what ours looks like. And that also leads to a bit of an issue, which this is our second take on air fryer brisket video. And that is because, it ends up quite tall because it's rolled. And we did it last time in an air fryer that's not as tall, so we're doing it again today for you using the Kasori because it's got that little bit extra height to it, and we'll show you what we mean shortly. So what do you need to do air fry briskets? What I recommend is about a 1.2 kilo brisket, or a kilo if you think a kilo is 2.2 pounds. So 2.2 pounds to about 2.7 pounds. Anything else and it won't fit very well in your air fryer. It's just kind of like when you do an air fry whole chicken, you can't put a huge one in the air fryer basket because it's just not going to fit. And then to make it tasty and yummy, you'll want some seasonings. So I recommend salt, pepper, thyme, basil, parsley and rosemary. And I also recommend that before you add any seasoning to your brisket, that you actually spray it with some extra virgin olive oil. This is like a little trick because what happens is as you spray the extra virgin onto the meat and then you add the seasonings stick like glue to the brisket and it stops all the lovely flavours from coming off. And then I recommend either a big bowl like this one that we're using here, or something similar, or you can even use an oven tray to mix your brisket on before you place it in the air fryer basket. So first of all, this is the brisket that we've got. So this is our brisket. So like I said about the weight of it, what I actually did is I ordered this direct from the butchers. I asked for 1.2 kilos and it was actually slightly over. So what he actually did for me is he chopped the end off, and he actually said to me that he could actually sell what was left. And I'm like, no, I love your brisket. So that little bit of brisket I actually made into some instant pot beef stock. And the main pieces of brisket that ended up in the beef stock, our lovely box that Ali had, which she thought was absolutely delicious. So like I mentioned, when you buy a brisket in England, what you actually have is it rolled. So, if you think of if yours is normally flat, then notice this is all rolled up and tied up ready for cooking in the air fryer. Then what I recommend you do is you place your brisket into a bowl, and then you season it from the bowl, because then any seasonings that have dropped off, you can kind of roll your brisket over them just to grab the last bit of flavour. So you want to start with a good spray of extra virgin olive oil all over your meat. Don't be shy about it. And then make sure it's rubbed in nicely. And then I'm just going to wash my hands slightly because you don't want the brisket juices getting all over the seasoning bowls. And why is there never a tea towel when I need one? And then you can start by adding your seasonings in. So this is our pepper. Next on the list is the salt. We always use sea salt. You might have your own preference. And then basil, parsley, thyme. If you live in Spain or Portugal, it'll be tomillo. And then last on the list, the rosemary. So as you can see, I've just kind of loaded that into the top because then it's easier for mixing around. So then you just want to rub it everywhere. You can pull it out a bit to kind of do that so that you're getting a nice coating everywhere, look. Oh, and the colour from those seasonings looks absolutely fantastic. And then what I do is I use the last bits that are in the bottom to do the top and bottom and the sides. So now you want to leave it so that your bowl looks clean and there's no seasonings left over. Oops. So now this is what it actually looks like. And that's the sides as well, nicely seasoned. Everywhere's perfectly seasoned, and it's just perfect now for placing in the air fryer basket. So now that you've actually prepped your brisket, it's time to air fry it. So pull out your air fryer basket, and this is where I can actually show you the problem that we had when we've tried to cook it in the Philips Air Fryer XL. I know you hear the word XL on an air fryer and you think, oh right, that's going to be huge. But it's the height. The Cosori one gives you slightly more height than what the Philips does. So what I'm talking about is when you do it like that, make sure you're pressing it down, or if you're doing it like that, which is how we recommend, that it's not up here. Because if it's up here, then what happens is the top of this will burn and it will stink your house out, and your house will smell the string because the string's getting too close to the air circulation. So that is actually the perfect height. And what I recommend is that you butcher cut it to size so that it's perfect for the air fryer. And you know, sometimes I just cut a little bit less off my brisket and use it for something else, just so that it's suitable for the air fryer basket. So now, once you've done that, you're ready to get it going. And let me give you another demonstration. As you can see here, it's not touching at all as it's going in. And then you want to turn on your air fryer. The Cosori automatically sets to 180 Celsius, 360 Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. We're doing that correct temperature, which is 180 Celsius, but we're starting with a cook time of 30 minutes. So get it all the way up to 30 and then press start. And our brisket is beeped. So let's check on it, shall we? Oh wow, this brisket just looks absolutely fantastic. Let's take a look at that. Now note that it's done half an hour already. It's slightly smaller than the one that we've got on Recipe This. So we're going to put it back on for a little bit longer. And I recommend that what you do is you turn it over so that you can get a cook on the other side as well. It's just like that, it only takes a second to do. But before we carry on the cooking process, what I wanted to tell you is that this recipe is available in full over at recipethis.com. Simply head to recipethis.com, search air fry brisket, and you'll find this recipe in full with a printable recipe card so that you can print it off at home. And even better, if you work on Imperial, you can switch it from metric to Imperial at the click of a button. Increase the size and measurements so that you can make this brisket work best for you and for your family size. So once you've done that and printed your recipe card, let's turn it over and get it back on, shall we? So over on Recipe This, I would recommend an extra 15 minutes. Ours is a bit smaller than that one. So what I'm recommending is another 10 minutes instead. And then we can check on it. So another 10 minutes, 180 Celsius, 360 Fahrenheit. And we've beeped. So can you believe that? Our brisket should be cooked. And wow, brisket, just like what it's like when you cook it on the barbecue, because you've got all the crispiness that comes from adding your seasoning and the extra virgin olive oil to it. Even though you could cook meat in the air fryer without any oil at all, by adding the extra virgin olive oil, it adds a lovely flavour to it, and it also gives you the option to add the herbs to it. And as I'm talking now, my other air fryer is beeping with some potatoes to serve with our brisket. So we can't wait to tuck in and just show you what the brisket looks like once it's sliced up. So I just can't wait. I have to try some now. So I'm just going to grab a little bit here just to see what it's like. Look at that on the fork. Doesn't that look fantastic? You know, most people complain that the brisket is really, really dry or really, really tough in the air fryer. But if you cook it right, it can be really, really nice. And rolled brisket does make a difference. Quite often if you do it flat, it's just not the same. So let me try it, shall I? God, that is so ridiculously tender. I cannot believe that is brisket, because quite often brisket has the reputation that it must be slow cooked, but it's seriously good in the air fryer, and I highly recommend that you roast a brisket next time you want something for Sunday lunch, or maybe it's barbecue season and you just want some extra meat to tuck into. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the Recipe This family. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook and Pinterest. We also have a weekly newsletter at recipethis.com/newsletter, where we share with you our latest kitchen gadget recipes, what we're cooking in the Milner kitchen, and so much more. As well as this, we recommend that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then whenever we have a new video, you will be the first to know. And if you want to know about all our future videos, then I recommend you hit the bell for instant notifications. But even better, we now have a podcast. It's called Magic with Gadgets. Simply search Magic with Gadgets on your favourite podcast player and you'll find us there.